In the middle of the night, I had a craving for food delivery, but I watched helplessly as my certain app icon swallowed the nearby food delivery icon. I'm just saying, is the food delivery industry this competitive now? I stared at the certain app icon for a long time, but I couldn't see anything unusual about it. It felt as if everything that just happened was just my illusion. But I indeed lost one food delivery icon. I nervously opened my cloud storage to check my wife's writing to calm my nerves. Open. Exit. Open again. What the hell, where are my resources? Is my phone infected with a virus? Just as I was about to curse, a message slowly popped up on the screen. Your virtual pet's hunger level has reached its limit, please feed it as soon as possible. What pet? Whose pet? I clicked on the message, which redirected me to a game page, but I haven't downloaded any games recently, after all. One King of Glory is enough for me to complain about. The game shows that my virtual pet has reached a point of desperation, due to not being fed for a long time. I suddenly had a strange idea. Is my icon and resources what this virtual character is consuming? That's too desperate, such a heavy taste. I poked the little one on the screen, but he didn't move. I poked again, and a naming interface popped up on the screen, prompting me to name the little one before proceeding to the next step. Hey, I'm familiar with naming. Let's call him a go. Affection value 20. Let's call him Dog Egg. Affection value 20. Then let's call him Xiao Hong. Affection value 50. Although my little one was lying on the ground, unaware of life or death, it couldn't stop the symbols indicating a decrease in affection value from popping up continuously. I was so numb that I randomly typed a name and sent it out, and unexpectedly, it got approved. I stared at the name Laku on the screen, lost in thought this name is not suitable. After thinking for a while, I changed the name to Jiang. It still passed without any resistance. I poked the little one on the screen for a while and then realized that he seemed to have fainted. No wonder he didn't resist no matter what name I gave him. I quickly clicked on food and water in the store for him, and after a while, the little one on the screen finally changed from a head-down position to sitting up. Only then did I see his face. This is a chibi version of a boy, both handsome and cute, which instantly struck a chord in my heart. I originally thought he would open his big, watery eyes and softly call me Mama. But he just looked at me coldly, not saying a word. I poked him again, and the game. Current affection level is insufficient. Please increase the affection level first. I looked at the 90 affection level and felt completely unwell. However, the exquisite graphics and the cute yet aloof character successfully piqued my interest. I thought, isn't it just affection level? A few days of care should bring it back. So, after my relentless feeding and care, the affection level finally successfully dropped to 100. I have never seen a character that is harder to please than him. The coffee must be freshly ground, and I have to click manually hundreds of times. If I miss even one, the affection level drops. The eggs must be fully cooked, but they cannot be burnt around the edges. I have to constantly control the heat, and if there's even a slight dissatisfaction, the affection level drops. Moreover, this game only opens after 7 o'clock in the evening. And the daytime permissions can only be unlocked after meeting specific conditions. I can't help but want to greet the producer 800 times. Am I not your golden patron? Why are you treating me like this? I glanced at the balance in the store. Oh, it turns out it's because I haven't recharged any money. I painfully recharged a first-time amount of 6 yuan. The system gifted me a bouquet of white roses, placed in the room where the virtual character sleeps. And that's it. I spent a whole $6, and you just give me a white rose ornament. At least give me a skin. After placing the white rose, the system notified that Zai's affection level increased by 10. Very well, things have returned to the starting point. Zai on the screen stared at the white rose for a while, touched its leaves, and then carefully watered it. He should have been sleeping at this hour. But he stubbornly stared at the white rose for half an hour. This made me a bit dazed, as if he on the screen really had his own thoughts. I checked the time, it was already 10:30. I hurriedly urged Zai Zai to go to sleep, not forgetting to pat his head. Affection level 1. All right then. I sighed as I covered Zai Zai with a blanket. Tomorrow is the first day of my internship at the new company, hoping the boss won't be too twisted. The next day, after rushing to the company to complete the onboarding process, I secretly inquired at the front desk about the boss's preferences. The receptionist glanced around sneakily before lowering her voice to tell me. "I'll quietly tell you, the boss has been in a bad mood these past few days, so be careful not to touch his sore spot." I heard, "It seems he has a stomach upset recently." I nodded repeatedly. This internship opportunity was something I had worked hard to secure. The Longton Group, controlled by the Tsai family, is the latest rising star, quickly making a name for itself in the business circle since the change of leadership. Many people are trying desperately to get in but can't. I originally applied with a try-it-out attitude, but I didn't expect to actually be hired. While I was chatting with the receptionist, my phone suddenly popped up a message. "Conditions met, daytime game access has been activated. Please enjoy raising the virtual character today as well." I stared at the wavy line of the message prompt for a while and increasingly felt that the producer of this game might not be a serious person. I just don't know what conditions triggered the permissions to be activated. As I was thinking, the receptionist suddenly poked me. I looked up and saw a tall and slender figure coming towards me against the light, with striking features, cold and noble. Strangely, they resembled my chibi character a bit. I was drooling in my mind when the person glanced in my direction and said displeased, "Who are you? Who allowed you to wander around during work hours?" This obvious tone of a superior instantly killed the little deer that was jumping around in my heart. I stammered a bit and replied, "I am the new intern. The HR said I should explore and familiarize myself with the environment." He frowned and ultimately left without saying anything. After he left, the receptionist patted her chest and said, "That's our boss, Tsai Yang. It seems he's not in a good mood today." I sighed. It's really not easy being a corporate slave. With the hope of being healed by the virtual character, I opened the game interface and found that the character was actually sitting in the office in a small suit, looking serious. At first glance, it really looked quite impressive. I felt a pain in my heart. Is the world really this competitive? Even the virtual character in the game has to come out and work as a child laborer. I watched him for a while and noticed that the game interface had updated with 2 new features. One is a basic introduction to the character, and the other is the character's mood diary. The basic introduction is as follows. Name, Jiang Jiang. Gender, male. Attributes, Yanda, sharp-tongued. Mental state, extremely poor. Description, in the intertwining of light and night, do you choose to turn a blind eye or desperately seek redemption? I carefully read these lines several times and found out that this is actually a redemption cultivation game. I like Yanda characters and such, hee. The basic introduction page has a few segments of locked storylines, displayed in grey. I didn't expect this game to have a story mode. I can't wait to see it. But I don't know what the unlocking conditions are. I shifted my gaze to the mood diary, which has only updated with 2 sentences. So annoying, I want to kill someone. I encountered an intern who looks really stupid, like a silly goose. I pondered over these 2 sentences. Although the mental state of the character Zai Zai is concerning, his character setting still seems to be that of a boss. But what kind of intern looks like a silly goose? That's just too funny. I poked Zai Zai again, and the game reminded me that I am currently in work mode and should not be disturbed. I scoffed, finding it quite realistic. I put away my phone, quickly familiarized myself with the work environment, and then, with my thick skin, swiftly learned about the office gossip. According to seasoned gossipers, the complexity of the Tsai family's relationships is comparable to that of a melodramatic soap opera about a wealthy family. Sai Yang was able to rise to power among a group of illegitimate children and firmly grasped the life and death power of Longting Group, which shows just how ruthless he can be. However, they are not clear about the specifics of the situation. Sai Yang has always despised such rumors, so they can only communicate secretly among themselves. I recalled the noble and cold face that resembled a deity, and couldn't help but sigh inwardly. Why can't heaven favor beautiful people? It seems that such a clean person has gotten entangled in the struggles of the wealthy. However, I was soon captivated by the food in the cafeteria. I must say, it is indeed a large corporation, and the benefits are excellent. After eating and drinking my fill, I couldn't help but check on the virtual character, Zai Zai. The game showed that Zai Zai was also eating. But on the table, there was only black coffee, a few slices of bread, and eggs. There wasn't even a hint of meat. I was a bit anxious. My mental state was already poor, and after working all morning, how could my body withstand it without eating something good? What if I fail and the system assigns me a Zai Zai that I don't like? I tried to change his food, but the game informed me that my favorability was insufficient, and that I couldn't intervene for the time being. This damn favorability. I angrily sent an 800-word complaint to the game customer service. The customer service replied quite quickly, but surprisingly, they responded with a contempt emoji. Are you mocking me for not being able to raise the child properly? I am a distinguished paying player. I continued to complain. But the customer service never replied to me again. I could only watch helplessly as the child finished that pitiful lunch and quickly returned to work. It wasn't until 6:30 that the child tiredly rubbed their forehead and got up to leave their workstation. That damn producer. The off-duty time for Longting Group is 5 o'clock in the afternoon, but when I left, my boss, Sai Yang, had not yet left the office. According to my gossiping friends, Sai Yang is a workaholic, staying later than them every day. This made me, who had been slacking off all day, feel a bit ashamed. Seeing the child in the game also leave so late made me even more ashamed. No wonder the previous night's time opened at 7 o'clock. It turns out the child works until this time every day before going home. After returning home, Zai Zai first carefully tended to the white rose, and then went to eat the food I had prepared for him. After a few days of adjustment, I have become quite skilled. At least I won't lose favorability due to my diet anymore. However, his favorability has increased a bit more than I expected. I looked at the system log and found that it was actually the work of that bouquet of white roses. This somewhat comforted my wounded soul. I poked the white rose, and to my surprise, it could be clicked on, revealing a detailed introduction. Name, Lost Thought. Type, White Rose. Description, although this looks like an ordinary bouquet of white roses, it contains lost memories, and has a great healing effect on those with psychological trauma. I carefully looked at the introduction, and the term, psychological trauma, in the description was particularly striking. I couldn't help but touch the hair of the virtual character, and he paused for a moment, surprisingly not resisting. The displayed affection level has not decreased any further. I frustratedly tapped my head, wondering when this damn storyline mode would be unlocked. I really want to know everything about the character Zai Zai. I want to know why his mental state is so poor, and why he often shows a lonely expression. After a few days, I gradually became familiar with everything about Longting Group, and Zai Zai's affection level was also slowly rising. However, I haven't seen Zai Zai for the past few days. The game interface shows that he's on a business trip, and the white rose at home has also been taken away. This made me feel disappointed for several days. I have never felt such a strong sense of anticipation in any other game. However, before Zai Zai returned, the game launched a special event in advance, with the reward being Zai Zai's Valentine's Day limited skin card, Suit Thug. I stared at the newly appeared card pool icon, feeling a long-lost sense of being controlled. There are still more than 20 days until Valentine's Day. The producer of the game not only mocks me for being single, but also launched a skin gacha to make me spend money. HMPH, don't even think about it. However, my rationality completely collapsed the moment I saw the skin card. I never expected that the skin card was an adult version of the character Zai Zai. The exquisite and cool-looking boy in the card is dressed in a sharp suit, with delicate cufflinks reflecting dazzling light. However, 2 buttons of his shirt are deliberately undone, revealing his delicate collarbone. Most importantly, he is holding a thick, long baseball bat in his hand, with a streak of bright red blood on his face. This creates a strong visual impact. I have never seen such exquisite and detailed anime art style. It inexplicably reminded me of my boss, Sai Yang's beautiful and cool face, and I couldn't help but associate it with him. I can't take it anymore. I scratched my itchy nose. I must get this skin. Not even Jesus can stop me, I mean it. Unfortunately, I haven't seen Sai Yang these past 2 days. I heard he went on a business trip. Otherwise, it would have been nice to get a daily visual fix. I drew cards for several days in a row, but didn't get any skin cards. This made me a bit frustrated, but what surprised me was how shockingly low the game's monetization pressure is. I have drawn so many times, yet I haven't spent more than the money I would use to buy white roses. Before I could draw any skins, I was notified by HR to go to the boss's office. I felt a bit anxious. I hope I wasn't caught slacking off while playing with the character. However, Sai Yang didn't say much. He just looked at me for a while and then spoke coldly. Your name is Shenqing, right? That's a nice name. I was a bit confused and could only cautiously respond, yes. To my surprise, Sai Yang asked me to be his personal secretary, and from now on, I would only follow his orders, with a significant salary increase as well. I stumbled out of Siyuan's office, still unable to understand why he suddenly did that. Could it be that he has an unattainable ideal named Shenying? However, I quickly found myself unable to feel happy. Because Siyuan has so many flaws, he is just as difficult to deal with as my virtual character, Zai Zai. And this also means I have to get off work at the same time as him every day, which greatly reduces the time I can spend with Zai Zai. After finishing up with my boss, I finally dragged my exhausted body back home. After opening the game interface, I found that Zai Zai had also returned from his business trip, and seemed to be in a surprisingly good mood. The mood diary next to it has also been updated. I don't know why, but I have a natural fondness for a certain name. It makes the person seem much more pleasant. At least they don't look so foolish anymore. I looked at it seriously several times and then discovered an astonishing fact. My little one might be secretly interested in another girl. I always thought this game was in single-player mode, but I didn't expect there to be an online mode. I just don't know how that little one's owner feels about my little one. Time passed quickly under the urging of the domineering Sai Yang, and before I knew it, it was Valentine's Day. Sai Yang finally had a moment of conscience, and surprisingly let me leave work early. However, I still couldn't feel happy, because I still hadn't drawn the limited skin for the little one, and the event date was about to pass. After being emo for most of the day, Sai Yang suddenly notified me to go with him to a cocktail party. I hadn't thought of a reason to refuse when Sai Yang sent another message. Calculating at 3 times the overtime pay, I'll provide the dress. Okay, boss. I'll be there soon. I quickly replied to the message, and the frustration of not being able to get the skin was finally somewhat alleviated by the small amount of money. When I changed into the dress that Sai Yang gave me and arrived at the venue of the cocktail party, I didn't see Sai Yang anywhere. I froze in the cold wind for 2 hours, and even when the cocktail party ended, I still didn't see him, and my phone couldn't get through. Although Sai Yang is sharp-tongued and harsh, I still couldn't help but worry about him. Just when I resigned myself to walking back, I saw Sai Yang slowly coming out of a small alley. However, his expensive suit was a bit wrinkled, the buttons of his shirt were undone, and there was even a trace of blood on his face. It looked like he had been in a fight. Sai Yang also saw me and seemed surprised that I had been waiting for him here all along. Perhaps my shivering appearance stirred up the little bit of sympathy he had. And he eventually let me get into his car. Sitting in the car, I wanted to ask something, but never dared to speak up. Just when I was in a dilemma, a harsh screech of brakes suddenly rang out, and the violent inertia made me bump into the car decoration. I covered my head and looked at the side with tears in my eyes, only to realize that it was a flashy red sports car that had stopped beside Sai Yang. 3 slick-looking thugs got out, clearly coming for Sai Yang. However, Sai Yang didn't seem surprised at all. He even pulled out a huge baseball bat from under the seat. He glanced at me and said, "Lock the car, don't get out, it will be over soon." After saying that, he got out of the car with the baseball bat. I didn't dare to watch closely anyway. Sai Yang won decisively and even called the police afterward. I didn't expect that Sai Yang, who looked like a delicate beauty, could fight so fiercely, even handling 3 opponents with ease. It wasn't until we finished giving our statements at the police station that I realized what had happened. I just stared at him blankly. Sai Yang didn't say much to me, he just silently took me home. But I could clearly feel the suppressed pain beneath his calm exterior. "Sai Yang, what kind of person are you?" I returned home in a daze, and it wasn't until close to midnight that I suddenly remembered I hadn't drawn my skin yet. With a mindset of giving it a try, I opened the card pool, and to my surprise, I drew the suit thug skin on the first try. After the gorgeous animation effects, a stunning face with bloodstains appeared before me. As I looked, the face of the skin inexplicably began to overlap with Sai Yang's face. I was startled by this absurd thought. Looking at the virtual character, it had already put on the outfit from the skin, and its rosy cheeks had several abrasions. It was carefully treating its own wounds. It wasn't until the virtual character took off its clothes that I realized it had injuries far beyond just its face. There were several bruises on its body as well. I once again kindly greeted the game producer, asking if we should collaborate with such a dreamy skin. Today is Valentine's Day. Since Valentine's Day, I haven't seen Sai Yang for several days. However, the character Zai Zai in the game is also not working, staying at home every day, looking quite listless. The game indicates that Zai Zai is in a weak state due to a cold and fever, needing to rest and recuperate slowly. But there are no cold medicines or anything like that in the shop, so I can only watch anxiously. Until Sai Yang sent me a message in the middle of the night, which said, "Dr. Shu, please bring me some fever-reducing medicine." Perhaps it was sent by mistake, as he quickly retracted it. I hesitated for a moment, but still put on my clothes and took a taxi to Sai Yang's house. As Sai Yang's personal assistant, I know his home address, but at most, I've only stood at the door and never went inside. But since I saw that message, I can't pretend I didn't. After all, he has indirectly protected me. On the way to Siyuan's house, I felt a mix of emotions as I looked at the virtual character Zai Zai, who was lying in bed with a high fever in the game. The absurd speculation in my heart emerged again. Suppressing my thoughts, I knocked on Siyuan's door with a feeling of trepidation. To my surprise, the one who opened the door was a stunningly beautiful woman. She raised an eyebrow and glanced at me, and I said somewhat unconfidently, "Hello, I'm here to deliver some fever-reducing medicine for the boss." The beautiful woman gave an enigmatic smile, stroking her chin thoughtfully. "How did you know Siyuan had a fever? It's not very safe for a young girl to be out in the middle of the night." I choked for a moment, feeling anxious and not thinking too much. I just stammered an explanation, not knowing if the beautiful woman believed me. I originally planned to deliver the medicine and leave, but the beautiful woman raised her chin, signaling me to come in. Of course, the medicine has to be delivered personally to him. It's rare to have a little beauty willing to get close to him. I was so embarrassed by her words that I unconsciously followed her in. The beautiful woman pushed me to the side of Sai Yang's bed, and then closed the door behind her. Before I could react, I found myself looking into Sai Yang's beautiful eyes. "What are you doing here?" he asked me. "I came to deliver your medicine. After all, you are my boss, and I still rely on you to pay my salary." I put the medicine on the table. The old me would never have spoken to Siyuan like this. But inexplicably, after experiencing this event with him, I found myself wanting to care for him. Perhaps it was the brokenness he inadvertently revealed that touched my heart. The one who raised the virtual character Zai Zai truly cannot bear to see a beauty in sorrow. Sai Yang didn't say anything, but I inexplicably felt that his mood should be quite good. I intended to leave, but the beautiful woman suddenly stopped me. After our conversation, I learned that he was the Dr. Shu mentioned by Sai Yang, but I didn't expect him to be such a stunning beauty. Dr. Shu spoke to me seriously. "You'd better stay away from him." I was a bit stunned, and in an instant, I imagined a dramatic love triangle. Does Dr. Shu like Sai Yang? Is that why he harbors hostility towards me? Before I could even start to explain, her next sentence instantly made my hair stand on end. Because mentally ill patients are not sentenced for harming others. I don't know why the tone suddenly shifted from a melodramatic soap opera to a suspense drama, leaving me momentarily stunned and unsure how to respond. "All right, I was just kidding, it's not that serious." Dr. Shu suddenly laughed and mischievously winked. She told me that Sai Yang indeed has serious psychological issues due to personal experiences, and he has a strong desire for control and possession over things he cares about. But for some unknown reason, it has been effectively alleviated recently. At least he won't suddenly lose control of his emotions due to external stimuli anymore. Before I could fully digest her words, a key was shoved into my palm. Dr. Shu shook my hand with a bright and innocent expression. "Sai Yang is a very guarded person. Since he can make you his assistant, it means he has recognized you. He doesn't have many friends and is hard to please, so it'll trouble you to take care of him here. Just when I'm very busy, goodbye, little beauty, I'll leave Sai Yang to you." After Dr. Shu finished these instructions, she left without looking back, completely forgetting that she had just scared me into keeping my distance from Sai Yang. I didn't expect things to develop to this extent. I just came to deliver some medicine, and somehow I got myself involved. However, Sai Yang accepted this quite well, so I had to start serving him like a workhorse. The first thing he ordered me to do was to water his flowers. I stared at the pot of white roses placed on the bedside table in the bedroom, momentarily stunned. I wouldn't mistake it, because that bouquet of white roses had the unique logo of Zai Zai's game company. My perception of this world instantly became surreal. From that day on, I started to act sneakily. After spending a few days closely with Sai Yang, I increasingly feel that he is very much like my child. When I sighed again at the virtual character in my phone, Sai Yang finally couldn't hold back. He tapped on the plate. "Why are you so distracted? My eggs are getting burnt." TSK, still the same old habit. I looked at him with a face full of indignation and replied bitterly. "It's nothing. I just suddenly realized that the cabbage I raised has turned into a pig." Sai Yang. He looked at me with a puzzled expression, and after thinking for a long time, he pushed me Dr. Shu's private WeChat. Thank you. I am in a good mental state. I continue to take care of the virtual character Zai Zai, because the damn game developer unlocked the storyline for me. In the animated storyline, young Zai Zai is a hidden illegitimate child, who, despite being in a luxurious villa, is always lying in bed, sickly. From time to time, he has to have blood drawn for tests, and the amount of blood drawn makes me feel anxious. He is often bullied by a few older kids, and it makes me want to drag those little bastards out and give them a beating. The animation freezes on a scene where Zai looks out the window lying in bed. This is the only view he can see. That sense of lonely helplessness almost spills out of the screen. I look at the quietly reading Sai Yang with a complex expression. If Zai Zai is him, does that mean that young Sai Yang also endured such a lonely and desperate environment? After hesitating for a moment, I still walked over to ask him. "Boss, did you have any serious illnesses when you were a child?" He looked at me in confusion, but still answered. "No, I have never been seriously ill." I hesitated, as the virtual character Zai Zai in the game had clearly once lay pale on the bed, so thin that a gust of wind could blow him over. Was it Sai Yang who lied to me? Or was there still a reason behind it that I didn't know? So I changed the subject and asked him. "Boss, who were those people that stopped us that day?" Sai Yang put down the book in his hand and scoffed disdainfully. "Just a bunch of insignificant guys, unable to manage their own company, and they love to play these dirty tricks. They were relentless at the party, and I didn't expect them to still be so persistent and follow us." I suddenly realized, no wonder Sai Yang was absent from the party. He had gone to deal with those so-called brothers of his. I had once secretly inquired with Dr. Shu, and aside from Sai Yang, there were no capable people among the children of the Sai family. They are all just good for nothings. When the Sai family was on the brink of bankruptcy, it was Sai Yang who desperately saved it. The experiences of his youth and the pressure at work caused his psychological issues. The more I interact with Sai Yang, the more I feel that he is a very fragile person. Under the facade of being strong, there is a heart that is scarred all over. After Sai Yang's body recovered, the favorability of the virtual character Zai finally accumulated to a certain level, which also meant that I could finally intervene with Sai Yang during the day. So, Sai Yang's lunch was changed to a specially made nutritious meal every day. Sai Yang looked like he had seen a ghost every day. I rarely get to see such an interesting expression on his face, so I decided to keep it to myself for a while before telling him about it. But plans change quickly. Dr. Shu gave me a recording file and told me that there had been new developments in Sai Yang's condition. As one of the only two people he trusts, she felt it was necessary for me to be involved in Sai Yang's treatment. I nervously opened the document, only to hear a conversation that left me both amused and bewildered. Sai Yang, Dr. Shu. I think I've encountered a ghost. My meals are mysteriously being replaced every day. Dr. Shu, since when did this start? Sai Yang, actually, there were signs of it a long time ago. I used to forget what happened at night, and I thought it was a side effect of the medication. Sai Yang, but recently, my memories of the night have suddenly become clear. How should I put it? It seems like I've been raised by someone, and that person must be a pervert, poking me every day. Sai Yang, I also recalled some unpleasant things. I wondered why my stomach was always uncomfortable during the day. Sai Yang, and the inexplicably appearing white roses, I subconsciously thought they should be there, but it wasn't until recently that I realized I had never bought such flowers. In summary, Dr. Shu believes that Sai Yang's condition must have worsened, which is why he is experiencing these hallucinations. I felt a bit guilty, and thought it might be better to clarify things. So I hurried to Sai Yang's house. But I missed Dr. Shu's latest news. Recently, don't go to Sai's house. He has been provoked by those scumbags repeatedly, and his emotions are very unstable. At this moment, he feels the most insecure and is very defensive. He might hurt you. After I arrived at Siyuan's house, I kept thinking about how to phrase it. I wanted to tell him that I was really serious about taking care of Zai, and that I genuinely wanted him to cherish his body and not overwork himself. But Siyuan was staring at me with a gloomy expression, so I could only explain to him as quickly as possible, fearing he wouldn't believe me, and I even took out my phone to show him. I even specifically poked Zai in the game. In my nervousness, I completely missed the red warning message at the bottom of the game. Warning, Zai's current emotional state is extremely unstable. Please be careful to soothe him. Siyuan tilted his head when I poked him, and before I had a chance to laugh at him, I was knocked onto the sofa by the force of his impact. Siyuan grabbed my neck and said coldly, "Do you enjoy the feeling of raising me? I also think you are quite good. So why not stay by my side and let me take care of you? I want you to see only me every day, what do you think?" Before he could finish his sentence, he was ambushed from behind and fainted. I was gasping for breath, still in shock, as I looked at Dr. Shu, who was rushing over. She whistled and kicked Sai Yang with some disdain. "Don't worry, I know how to control my strength, I won't hurt him. Fortunately, I noticed you didn't reply to my message, so I thought I'd come take a look just in case. This damn kid." After Dr. Shu's explanation, I finally understood Sai Yang's current state. Actually, Sai Yang's grip on me just now wasn't very strong. I was just a bit stunned by the sudden situation. Moreover, Sai Yang did not intend to harm me, he just wanted to raise me. Being raised by a Yanda, what's with this plot that makes me feel a bit excited when I think about it? I quickly suppressed my thoughts. After all, this is Sai Yang, and I know in my heart that he is not a bad person. If it were a real Yanda pervert, I wouldn't even have a place to cry. After Sai Yang stabilized his emotions, he indeed regretted what he had done. However, according to Dr. Shu, he magnifies the dark side of his heart when he is in an unstable state. Does this mean? No, I can't think about it anymore. I'm starting to develop a love-struck brain. Perhaps witnessing the most vulnerable side of Sai Yang, or perhaps, because I revealed my biggest secret to him, our relationship began to become subtle. He started taking me everywhere gradually. Gossip about us spread in the company. But I don't have time to care about that anymore, because the evil game producer has updated the card pool again. This time it is the Grain Rain event, and the limited game skin is ambiguous loss of warmth. I stared blankly at my phone, where the two-dimensional version of Siyuan was soaking in a bathtub. Although he was wearing a tank top, and nothing was exposed, it inexplicably made my heart race and my face flush. Especially the droplets of water dripping from the tips of his hair, sliding down his prominent nostrils, gracefully shaped chin, and then meandering down his collarbone. Those droplets were not just falling into the bathtub, they were practically dripping into my heart. According to the game's nature, he wouldn't let me draw this skin until the day of the vernal equinox. So I could only wait anxiously, and even Siyuan's gaze towards me felt strange. I can't blame him mainly. I've been drooling over him lately. But unexpectedly, before I could wait for that day, I was kidnapped first. I knew Siyuan had a messy family, but I didn't expect those people to be so shameless. Ironically, I thought to myself, since they want to kidnap me, I must be important to Siyuan. But scum is ultimately scum, and their intelligence is not enough to reach the level of a perfect crime. Their plan was full of loopholes, and the police quickly traced us down. To be honest, the siblings of the Sai family have some connections, otherwise they wouldn't have pulled a gun on me. In that moment, I thought of many things. I am an orphan, and I have only cared about 2 people throughout my life. I haven't had the chance to fulfill my wishes. Am I really going to die like this? Just before the robber pulled the trigger, Sai Yang lunged forward and shielded me with his body. Although the robber was shot dead by a sniper at the same time. The bullet also struck Sai Yang in the abdomen. My vision was covered in bright red. It was Sai Yang's blood, warm and flowing life. My mind went blank. I could only see a group of people talking to me, but I couldn't hear them and didn't want to listen. All I could see was Sai Yang, but he was getting further away from me, as if he were out of reach. I was almost crying out loud outside the emergency room, when I suddenly thought of the character Zai Zai in the game. Since it is not yet the Grain Rain season and the game has released that skin, it proves that Sai Yang definitely won't die. I hurriedly opened the game interface and found that the character in the game was lying on the ground with its eyes closed, and its health points were continuously decreasing. I anxiously poked around, but there was no response. Just as I was in despair, the game suddenly popped up a dialogue box. Would you be willing to give up your life for the one you love? I was taken aback and quickly clicked yes. After all, this life was saved by Sai Yang, so what if I returned it to him? As I confirmed, the vital signs of the character in the game gradually stabilized, and my heart was put back at ease. After a tense wait, I indeed heard good news. The doctor said the position of the bullet was quite peculiar and looked frightening, but it was actually not a big problem. A minor surgery would suffice. However, the patient still needs to pay attention to rest. For the sake of Sion's health, I basically live in the hospital, taking care of him meticulously every day. After my care, the day of discharge finally arrived. Sai Yang helplessly grabbed me, who was running back and forth, and smiled gently. All right, don't be so nervous. The doctor said everything is fine. Come on, let's high-five. I was about to pretend to be angry. But I froze the moment I saw the palm of his hand. I had never closely examined Sai Yang's palm, so I had never noticed the small butterfly birthmark near his ring finger. I had only seen such a unique birthmark on one person. I trembled slightly as I held his hand and tentatively asked, Jiang. But Sai Yang just looked at me in confusion, not understanding what I meant. I anxiously found Dr. Shu. I couldn't be mistaken, he was Jiang, the Jiang I had been thinking about. I asked Dr. Shu if Sai Yang had ever lost his memory. Dr. Shu looked at me in surprise. This was something that only she and Sai Yang should have known. Under my persistent questioning, Dr. Shu told me everything about Sai Yang. Sai Yang was recognized back by the Sai family not because of a change of heart, but because they needed his blood. Sai Yang's blood, like mine, is a rare type known as panda blood. And the legitimate son of the family is also panda blood. The legitimate son unfortunately fell seriously ill and needed a continuous supply of blood, which is why they brought Sai Yang back to serve as a human blood bank. Only after that child died from his illness could Sai Yang finally escape from hell. I was almost in unbearable pain. No wonder Sai Yang said he had never been seriously ill, no wonder he was so terrified of 4 needles, and no wonder he, like Jiang, also had rare panda blood. This is not a coincidence, he is my Jiang. Dr. Shu said that Sai Yang forgot some memories after a series of stimuli, and he once had a period of time when he desperately wanted to regain those memories. But the pressure of life and the burden of the company weighed on him like a mountain, making it impossible for him to focus on treatment. Over time, it was set aside. I watched the plot in the game animation over and over again. Seeing the young character, Zai helplessly lying on the bed. How desperate he must have been at that time. I was an orphan since childhood, living in an orphanage, and I was closest to a brother who was also an orphan. At that time, he was not yet called Sai Yang. I gave him a nickname, Jiang, because I thought it was playful and cute. In those difficult years, every time I called him, life felt a little sweeter. Until he was taken away by his so-called family. Before leaving, Jiang promised me solemnly that he would always have a good life and then come back to take me away. But I waited and waited, and I never saw him again. I have never given up looking for him, but I have never heard from him. I never thought that he would step into hell. Even if we grow up and do not recognize each other when we meet, he will still unconsciously have a great fondness for the name Shen Ying. He will still unconsciously cherish that bouquet of white roses. Because that was what I gave him on the day he left. It represents beautiful and pure love. I cried in front of Sai Yang without any image, hiccuping so much that I couldn't speak, and could only have Dr. Shu convey my words. Sai Yang looked at me in shock. He never thought that the memories he had once lost would be presented to him in such a unique way. He carefully held me, and I knew he still hadn't remembered that memory, but his love for me remained fervent. After a period of rehabilitation, I finally welcomed the rainy season I had been looking forward to. Dr. Shu specially concocted a medicinal bath, claiming it is beneficial for the body. Since I officially established a relationship with Siyuan, Dr. Shu has not been paying much attention to him. She said that Siyuan is recovering well, and with my encouragement, he will surely soon emerge from the shadows. So, naturally, the task of urging him to take medicinal baths was left to me. I blushed and my heart raced as I took Siyuan into the bathroom, and then I came out with sore hands. Damn it, why are Siyuan's muscles so hard? It was really tough for me to massage him. A few days later, Siyuan said he wanted to give me a surprise. I glanced at the latest event skin released in the game, Memory of Fireflies, and it seemed like I already knew what to do. In the scene, against a backdrop of countless fireflies, a handsome and gentle boy embraced his entire world. The game not only unlocked the skin, but also all the storylines. There are scenes of Siyuan struggling under pressure, a person enduring the torment of illness in solitude, and us cuddling together in the orphanage. That was Siyuan's past, a past filled with bittersweet experiences, which, after transforming into a chibi version of the character, made my heart ache even more. I naturally couldn't spoil the surprise for Sai Yang, so I pretended to be unaware, and followed him to the open area. Then I saw the most beautiful scene I have ever encountered in my life. On a starry night, countless glowing fireflies danced around us. It was the ultimate romance. Sai Yang knelt on one knee, holding the bouquet of white roses from the game, and proposed to me. At the moment I put on the ring, the white roses in my arms suddenly transformed into a myriad of flowing lights, surging into Sai Yang's body. Sai Yang was taken aback for a moment, then excitedly embraced me, and I could even feel the wetness on my shoulder. Those were Sai Yang's tears. He said softly, sobbing. I remember now, I remember everything. I will never forget you again. I gently pat his head. I will always be by your side. Lovely little Zai Zai Jiang Jiang. The end of the text. Extra 1. The soft-hearted god. I am a bored god, spending my days bragging and chatting with other gods. That day, as I rode my star chariot past a small broken sphere, I suddenly felt a powerful will. This piqued my curiosity, so I took notice of that human girl. She wished for her Jiang to be safe and have a smooth life. So I reviewed her life and found that she and the person she cares about are destined never to meet, each suffering in solitude. So I beat up the old man on that little broken ball, stripped him of his clothes, and snatched his red thread, tightly tying that human girl to the person she longs for, and even making a dead knot. By the way, I made a game and put it on that girl's phone. Isn't raising virtual pets all the rage now? I am a fashionable god. Love can break through obstacles and heal pain, so I don't mind giving them a hand. It's just beating up another king of hell, after all. Who told me that I'm not just a boring god, but also a soft-hearted god? So remember to make a wish the next time a shooting star passes by, maybe I'll hear it. Extra 2, a strange little theater. Shenying, Jiang, I heard that you once ate some strange things out of hunger. Would you like to share your feelings? Sai Yang, thanks for the invitation. I only remember that I was clearly in my own home, yet I couldn't touch any food, only some messy blocks that I could interact with. Sai Yang, I thought normal food should be yellow to be appetizing, so I picked the most yellow one. Sai Yang, how should I put it? I feel like I've become strange all of a sudden. Sai Yang, later, I stopped picking yellow ones and chose a blue one instead, which had a little person eating beans on it, so it should be fine. Sai Yang, in short, it was not a very pleasant experience. Shenying, alright, let's thank classmate Jiang for their speech, and I look forward to meeting you all next time.